World Suicide Prevention Day. It's an initiative to raise awareness about suicide and how to prevent it. Now, the World Health Organization says one person dies by suicide every 40 seconds globally. The South African Depression and Anxiety Group has launched an online platform to help those who may be feeling suicidal. SADAG Director Zamo Mbele joining us now to tell us more. Zamo, good evening, and thanks for your time. Before we get to your efforts and your initiatives, I mean, a lot of people might be wondering as we speak, how do you even begin to prevent suicide? Because if somebody is at that point of desperation and hopelessness and they want to do it, they will find a way.
Absolutely, and I think that there's several places that we can begin. One of them is to help people not to get to that point, actually, of desperation. In that regard, we know that we can do many things. Two really important ones are to highlight that there is help. Even at that point of absolute desperation. In fact, there's something else to be done. There's a way to get out of the suffering without taking your life. I think the second one is also to address what people are suffering from in that desperation. Yeah. And again, oftentimes it's some sort of psychological condition or psychiatric condition. And if that is treated, oftentimes we see that that desperation also goes away.
What are you seeing in terms of numbers, stats? Who are you getting calls from more? Are we looking at, I mean, I'm just looking at what the World Health Organization says. They say 8 out of 10 suicides happen in low and middle income countries. They also say the suicide rate is highest in high income countries, second leading cause of death among young people. So what are you seeing in terms of the calls you are getting, the people who are reaching out for help at the moment?
I mean, I think we're seeing quite a big spread of people who are reaching out for help, and thank goodness people are actually reaching out for help. Look, I must say that in terms of the more recent successful suicide in South Africa, it was somebody as young as 6 years old. And we're seeing that in the spectrum of the calls that we're getting. Really young persons who are in primary school, all the way through to the elderly. We have tried to focus quite a lot on young persons struggling and suffering with suicidal thoughts and tendencies and attempts. And in that regard, we're seeing a rise in teen suicides, and we're also seeing a rise in persons struggling with suicides at universities, and that's something that we've also wanted to pay a lot of attention to. Though, stats aside, I mean, I suppose we really believe that one suicide is one too many, especially for young people.
So you've launched an online platform. Tell us exactly how it works and how people can get the help they need on that platform.
Sure.
Social media we're talking about young people, that's where they go, and that's sometimes where trouble starts, and that's sometimes where the solution is found.
Yeah, and I cannot punctuate that more, that occasionally that's where the trouble starts, and we're seeing a lot of people, suicidal tendencies actually start with the pressure from social media. However, it's also the site that we can do a lot of work, and a lot of our awareness campaigns are on social media. So we are on Twitter, and we are on Instagram, we are on WhatsApp as well, let alone our website, and that's where we are doing a lot of our work. Before I speak about the Facebook work that we're doing, I also just want to highlight that on the one hand, for example, in the last 8 months, we've received more than 145,000 calls.
Wow.
And about 41,000 of those in 8 months were specifically suicide-related. So a lot of people are, on the one hand, really struggling, but thank goodness a lot more people are reaching out for help. And this is why we've decided that this Friday we're going to have a suicide information session on our Facebook Fridays, which happens regularly on a Friday. 1 p.m. till 2 p.m. There will be an expert there to answer any questions for persons struggling, but also for family and friends and everybody else in society that wants to know how to help. And then again, from 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. We'll have another expert there to help. And throughout the day, as we have 24/7, we also have 22 lines actually dedicated to assisting people.
So for those Facebook sessions, do we just look for SADAG?
You just go to our SADAG Facebook page, and you'll see the session will start at 1 o'clock, and you can already start posting your questions and comments. And as I say, there will be an expert and some support in order to deal with that, and it'll close at 2 p.m. They'll again be available between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m.
Okay, so do take advantage of that if you're one of those feeling it at the moment, if you feel like you are all alone and cannot deal with this. Thank you very much, SADAG's Zamo Mbele, just giving us an idea of what help is out there if you are in that state.